welcome back to Squawking Dead. Did you miss us? Well, did you?
I did.
This is our second podcast of the week, because technically it's still Saturday. I don't know when this is going to go up.
But it's within the same time span.
Yeah. We are driving ourselves crazy, running ourselves ragged, trying to get you this content. And today we're going to be covering Fear the Walking Dead, Season 4, Episode 1, the season premiere. And I got to tell you, right off the bat, no crazy intro.
No.
We're going off the cuff. This will shave us a little time off this season premiere.
Yeah, we're going to get right to it, right to the meat of it.
Yeah. But what's really interesting about this episode is that I'm very concerned that we're going to say a lot about this episode because they put all their money on this episode.
Yeah.
Because in following some of the Fear the Walking Dead cast members and crew, you find out a lot about what went into that one single season premiere episode. And obviously, you've got cast from The Walking Dead.
Yeah, yep.
In terms of continuity. You got these combined crews, you've got these cinematographers cranking it up to 100. They basically put a lot of storyboarding, a lot of dialogue, a lot of thoughtfulness into this episode to try to make it the blowout Fear the Walking Dead, a series apart from The Walking Dead.
Right.
And it certainly showed. I don't know how you feel about it, but I was very impressed, much more than... And again, I'm a Fear of the Walking Dead watcher. I've watched it since the beginning, but this was definitely an episode apart.
It was interesting for it to go straight from Walking Dead to Fear the Walking Dead because the differences were huge just in terms of the tone of the episode and, you know, the way it was shot, the coloring.
Yeah,
just
that's right.
Everything had a sort of like...
The blue hues, right?
Yeah, it had a very different feel to the episode, which is a very different take on it. Like I really had to kind of switch gears, especially after coming off of the season finale of Walking Dead and going into the premiere of Fear. And it, you know, was a completely different approach whatsoever, you know, completely. So I think it was a transition piece. I mean, even the way the title of the episode is, what's your story? You know, what's your deal? How do we transition Morgan into this whole thing? Because we don't see the main Fear characters until the very end, really.
Right.
So
like the last minute or two.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
But not that that's a complaint. I'm just saying it's a different approach. It took me a bit by surprise when we kind of do continue it from Walking Dead and we see Morgan in the junkyard. I was like, oh, this is an interesting approach. We really are taking right where we left off and picking it up.
Actually, it seems like it's a month later, a month after they
Something
defeated
like
Negan.
That. Yeah.
Negan. What's a Negan?
We're like in the process of rebuilding, I get the impression at this point.
They said it was enough time to grow an eggplant.
I was going to say, because that's kind of what tipped me off about how much time had gone by, because he had that bathtub that he had all the plants growing. And so I was like, okay, well.
Yeah, there you go. That's the tip off, right?
That's kind of what tipped me off. Like I was like, okay, well, enough time has passed that he's been able to grow this vegetation.
Yeah, and I looked it up. I said, okay, Google, how long does it take to grow an eggplant?
16 to 24 weeks. According to Old Farmer's Almanac, harvest 16 to 24 weeks after sowing when the skin of the fruit is shiny and unwrinkled.
Like Morgan's head.
Shiny and unwrinkled.
Like
funny.
That perfect melon.
That perfect melon.
Yeah, so that's how I found out.
That's how I figured it. Like from the episode, like I was like, okay, enough time has passed. We've been able to grow vegetation here, so he's been settling into his new location at the junkyard.
Yeah, he's in, and you know he's so bored. He's stacking up heap items and stuff.
Yes,
but you know he's hanging in there. He's okay.
He's okay,
but not okay.
Was it that he had said in the previous episode, like, I
know I'm not right, but I'm not wrong.
Right. That was a good one.
Yeah. He's more all right now.
He's definitely in a better headspace for sure.
He's at least receptive. But you know what? Let's take it back to the beginning of the episode, because the beginning of the episode starts off not with Morgan at all. We take a tiny little break to get a monologue from our new Fear the Walking Dead character, John Dory.
It's a very interesting character.
Yeah. Give me your initial impressions, because I'm very curious, because you know how I feel about Garrett Dillahunt.
To me, it's like I definitely got this cowboy gunslinger sort of vibe. And it was kind of interesting at first because I was like, wow, he really is sort of, I guess, been away from civilization for a little bit, that he's just sort of like monologuing here, you know?
like
because he
out
doesn't
of
even
place.
right because he doesn't even know who he's really talking to at that moment. He's sort of like, I hear something, I hear somebody, so I'm gonna, hey, who is this? And then just kind of goes into full-on dissertation mode.
Yeah,
So, you know,
I might as well. I mean, I used to talk to myself, but that's what's really interesting. And I didn't write this down, so lucky you. What I didn't realize until much later is that John Dory and Morgan Jones have both gotten used to isolation.
that's a good point.
It seems like another factor that would bring them together.
It is a good point. They've been on their own for some time.
Yeah. So I think it's kind of fitting that these two just find whatever they're looking for, I guess, together. Right? Not only is he out of place, he's just so casual in this, in this dangerous world.
Yes, he's very cavalier.
Yeah. Just talking to a guy who might kill him. Fine. Sure.
No fear.
No fear of The Walking Dead.
No. Nope, not at all.
He's obviously lonely, but he still doesn't really prevent him from reaching out to a walker and give him a nice squeeze.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just a very strange person for
this sort of
world.
Exactly, these kind of circumstances.
So, and that's the first thing I noticed about him. You will see guys that are just obviously crazy, but this guy isn't that. And I guess, you know, you don't find nice guys with a sense of humor. Not even that, like just strange fellows. They just get eaten up right away.
Yeah.
Yeah, so funny. I love the little, I haven't talked in a little while. I've been trying to say these words, and I like the sound of platypus. Pasta. Potable.
He's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, P.P.P, by the way. So there's your link to Heath. Have at that.
There you go.
We'll maybe loop back around if lightning strikes you.
Let that permeate there in my head. Okay, that's fine.
All right, it's going down. Heath is not on The Walking Dead. Heath, I repeat, is not on The Walking Dead. He will be on Fear.
He is on Fear. We will see him on Fear.
Mobilize all command vehicles to assault him at Austin.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, there's no link, I guess, to Judith unless she starts going west, too, now. So, separate story arcs.
Separate story arcs. Yeah, there you have it.
Yeah, and if you haven't caught episode 16 yet, we reference that at the end of the episode. So, just to kind of clue you in on that.
FYI.
Yeah, alternate endings for episode 16, the season finale of The Walking Dead, season 8. So
one can only hope.
Yeah. So apparently John Dory, in his long ass monologue,
name too, isn't it? John?
Yeah, I like it too. Like he again, out of place kind of person, odd name, odd person.
Yeah.
Gunslinger. Clearly, it looks like he was maybe once like a rodeo. Gunslinger. You know, target practice dude. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool if that was
like a showman. It looks like he may have had like a more outlandish cowboy outfit at one point. You know, and he has his J.D. in the grip kind of gun. So I don't think you get guns like that in the real world unless you're kind of like a showman.
I would think, but you know, when it comes to anything gun related, I always have to give a little disclaimer. Like I know nothing of guns. Sorry.
Stamp it on your forehead. I don't know. I don't know shit.
Don't know a damn thing. So yeah.
It's just an impression that I get. Just seems. Look, these kind of acting grandiose type people who are in show business, they tend to be kind of strange in general. Wink,
quirky.
Wink, 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 Xander Berkeley. So, which is not a bad thing. I'm not saying
it's not a bad thing. Yeah. No, not in the least.
You just got to notice it, and then it just hits you over the head right away.
And you're like, okay, I get it. Quirky.
So this strange person, he goes into this monologue about having met a woman. Yeah, and you know, I wasn't always alone. It sounds to me, and maybe this will get revealed, is that he was holding out in a movie theater, and he thought he was all alone, but somebody had come to his door, or like the theater door, let's just say. And one of the observations that I made throughout the episode is that when he describes this encounter with this woman, whose name I think is Laura, it sounds to me like she didn't really speak. And the reason why I think that is because he mentions that in a way, in context, that it seems like he continued to talk to himself even when she was around, and he kind of had to stop, but he kept her safe and put a roof over her head, but maybe she tried to keep to herself, and then eventually they let something happen, and then we don't find out what happened happens afterwards, but he does mention that it was something he doesn't like to talk about. That's so sad.
That's true. Yeah.
And then, of course, and it still being the beginning of the episode, after speaking for like 4 or 5 minutes straight, he sees what finally was rustling in the woods, and it was a walker, and immediately does his little cowboy thing, a quick draw. And
I know, that's kind of cool, though. It's kind of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Little quick draw.
There's something kind of exciting about somebody like that in the walker apocalypse.
Yeah. This is what a lot of people had complained about previously about Fear. In comparison to The Walking Dead, you had these characters, like literally characters, samurai, a sheriff, a ninja, like you just had these kind of over-the-top characters and these over-the-top kind of weapons that was just sort of like, that's so cool, you know? And I think that a guy like John Dory, first of all, the name, the gunslinging, the delivery, like when he goes to get his weapon. I mean, it's all just so, I mean, honestly, it's just fun. It's just cool.
I can see how in a comic book, this is way more...
It's very comic booky.
It draws out the character. It lets you figure out who they are right away or what they can do without much effort.
Right.
You know, it hadn't occurred to me too, like that each person kind of had their own little specialty. If this was like an action figure or like just a no-name action figure, you could just see who they were based on what equipment came with the package.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, here we are just doing expository on what these characters are like in real life and how they feel, and then it just doesn't occur to me, oh yeah, they do kind of start off as kind of caricatures.
Yeah, and then eventually they became more developed and with more depth to them, but it's also fun.
Yeah, and we'll get to the journalist soon, I guess.
Yeah, also
eventually,
and her cool ass SWAT car, you know,
SWAT van, right?
Yeah, I mean that was pretty cool.
Mobile
also.
SWAT unit.
Yeah, man.
Oh boy,
she was like a video game character to me.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this whole thing kind of felt like a sort of sad video game in a weird way.
Right.
Because the characters were kind of not plain. You didn't get too deep.
No, not yet, at least.
But the scenes were deep.
The scenes were deep. It was very post-apocalyptic, bleak environment. But the characters were very vivid video game kind of caricature-ish, which isn't bad. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's a very different vibe.
Yeah, it feels like this was the intro to a video game. Like one of those new type of story type video games.
Yes, I could see that.
Choose a path. Do you hit him with stick?
Oh, God.
Or do you walk away? He says, leave me alone.
It is. It's totally like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the next episode is basically when you start playing. So.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is technically true.
That's how it is with a lot of these games.
Yeah.
Not that I would know.
Yeah. So this is the demo screen. And then, you know, the next episode is where we start getting into it.
Yeah.
Well, clearly, because this is what I've been telling a lot of friends who watch The Walking Dead, who want to try to get into Fear the Walking Dead. I tell them, don't wait. Watch just season 4, episode 1. Do it, because the entire episode, again, is all these new characters plus Morgan, whom you're used to.
Right.
So just do it.
Just do it. Just get into it. Just jump right in.
Yeah, for the continuity alone, fine, but I'm not even talking about that. It's a good standalone episode.
Yeah,
which I didn't expect at all.
Oh, really?
When we were talking about it, I was like, oh, you know, you should watch it. You should judge it on its own right. And I was like, you know, I support that. And like, I didn't even have to do that because this episode does have its own set of legs to stand on.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree completely.
Yeah. We started talking about the Heaps and how long he was there. And one of the things I wanted to talk about were the people who came in. To try to get him to come back, and all the various reasons that some of it overlaps like a Venn diagram.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Venn diagrams, you know that did you see the episode of Talking Dead with Stephen Ogg, and there was like a new super fan there, and she had a book?
Oh,
also.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're friends with her on Instagram.
Oh, that's exciting. I loved her because she showed her notebook and she had Venn diagrams. Like that's
colored paper, I think, too.
Colored paper.
Pencil. I don't remember. Her notes definitely rivaled Yvette Nicole Brown's. For sure. Sure.
I was like, wow, man. I'm impressed.
Yeah, totally impressed. Speaking of Venn diagrams, the reasons Carol, Rick, and I think Jesus
come, yeah.
Mm-hmm. A lot of it's all the same. Come back with us. You saved us, etc. We start off with Carol.
Yes.
You know, she comes in, she says, you know who I am, I know who you are, and you belong with people who care about you. And Rick comes in, and the one takeaway line, and I think it's said later on in the episode, is you can hide, but you can't run.
Mm-hmm.
And, he mentioned how grateful he is when he saved him in season 1.
You're right.
I think episode 1, right?
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for him, he wouldn't even be able to save everybody in the last
Recent
month.
memory. Yeah.
It's all owed to you. You were the one who took a chance.
Yeah.
In spite of, you had your son there. You didn't know who I was.
Yeah, he didn't know who he was. He didn't have to save him.
Yeah, and don't waste time. Come back. Be a part of the world.
Mm-hmm.
You're part of the world already.
Yeah.
You'll find your way back to it because it'll find its way back to you. And boy, was he right.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
The reason why I even mention this, because we could easily go past this and just treat it as a sort of transition period. But all of the things that these people have said, even Carol, you belong with people who care about you. I can easily see this episode as a chance for Morgan to start a friendship, or who knows, you never know, it might be a relationship with some of the people on Fear the Walking Dead with a clean slate. The ability to maybe keep his head, forge like a new loving or friendship relationship. And that will be the people that he loves and cares about. So instead of doing it here, he does it somewhere else. In fact, I don't even know why I didn't write this down, but what Jesus says is you can do what you're doing here, being apart. It doesn't really matter where you are. You can do it closer to us. Be apart, but be surrounded by the people you love. And I love that because he kind of just took his advice and started running, literally.
Yeah, just ran away.
Yeah, I'm going to do what I'm doing somewhere completely different.
Yeah.
Rick's thing, though, is more of a you'll see later on kind of thing. You can hide, but you can't run. Clearly, he was wrong about the running part.
Yeah.
But the expression holds true. Just don't waste time to be a part of the world. I don't think he wasted time at all. In fact, him running away was kind of like a catalyst almost.
I think so.
I'm sure he was running for a long time, but...
logistically speaking, yes.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to figure this out from a logistic standpoint. I was like, okay, we were in Virginia, so...
Yeah. So if you do it, and he actually, it's funny, near the end, he kind of does spell out his journey. First I ran, then I walked, then I took a car until that gave out, and then I took another car, and then I walked some more.
Yeah.
And I can easily say it probably took him at least 4 days, if not a whole week, to do what he did.
Yeah.
That's the thing, though. It's just that Rick's words were right, but for different reasons. I think he ran, but he ran into another situation where the world is it's like Morgan is this sponge or vacuum. People will rush in because he's obviously a good guy.
Right. Yeah.
You see this in the episode. In fact, when he's on his journey, he sees that Jeep Grand Wagoneer kind of thing. Yeah, and it's notable because it's like a tan color with like the wood panel on the side.
Yeah.
With the fat ass wheels. And inside the 4x4 is this guy who is obviously sick or hurt or hurt. And Morgan right away, just without saying anything, because it's still Morgan, he still just wants to avoid people, but he still can't help himself from saving people and helping people. He starts to leave equipment like gauze and everything, like alcohol and some food. And the guy says, "You basically fuck off, keep your shit to yourself. I don't need it." And the one thing that he says, and it's something that Morgan repeats later on in the episode, "We're always alone." And he repeats this later on in the episode when he tries to talk to John Dory. As he talks to him later on. But yeah, shuts the door, and basically he sees this vehicle near the end of the episode, and the guy ends up being a walker, and it's just something that he has a hard time with. When he confirms that it's the guy that was in the car shivering, he just simply has to go after it. But it's just one of those things. He just can't avoid being who he is. And that is kind of like the hatch of a spaceship. And the spaceship, and like the vacuum is rushing in, the world is rushing in. Absolutely. In the journey going west, you do see the sign of Texas on the floor. So it's kind of like there's no illusions about where he actually is. There's no guessing games.
We are in the state of Texas.
The Lone Star State.
The Lone Star State, yeah.
After the monologue thing, obviously because we're jumping around in time, it starts off with John Dory, goes back to the heaps, and then him running, and then it goes back to that scene with John Dory where he's basically trying to convince him to stay. First he asks him if does he want some beans? And I got some beans too.
That's what cowboys eat. To say.
Especially movie theater cowboys.
Yeah.
And then barring that, because of course Morgan's refusing, he just kind of wants to move on at this point. And again, Morgan can't help save John Dory.
Mm-hmm.
It's a common theme. He just can't keep to himself. He just gotta help people out, even though he doesn't want anything to do with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he proceeds to offer him candy, John Dory. And this is like a repeating thing. He's like Grandma with the Werther's chocolate or something.
Yeah.
Werther's candy.
Yeah.
Werther's original. That's what it was.
Yes, yes.
It's just so goddamn cute. It's just so Garrett Dillahunt. I'm just in love with this guy. Seriously.
I can tell. New man crush.
Yeah, he plays in equal parts good guys and bad guys on television shows, like on sci-fi series and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And just everything that he does, I'm just into. Just very into. He has a good Southern accent too, so I don't know why he didn't do more of that. Yeah.
He does have a good Southern accent.
Yeah, he's done it a lot too in other roles, so go figure.
Is he Southern or no?
I don't know. I should look him up. But when he's speaking, his speaking voice is just... It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's American. No, it's just a regular American accent. Very...
Nondescript.
Nondescript, thank you. That's the better word.
I like to write.
Nondescript.
Nondescript.
So in spite of Morgan's constant refusals, the one thing that gets him to stay is basically, look, you've been probably traveling for a very long time. You said you were back east. You could stay at the back in the flatbed. I'll stay in the front with the cab. It looks like you could just use a good night of sleep, man.
Yeah.
And cut to the next scene with John Dory snoring. And I don't know. I could not sleep in that. Does Eddie snore?
Yes, he does. Yes.
Oh boy.
So I use earplugs.
Oh boy. How do you does that work?
Yes, it works phenomenally. But but the nice thing about earplugs is that I don't know how, but earplugs basically muffle certain sounds, not necessarily all, which is good because, I need to hear certain things. So it's not like my alarm goes off and I'm not going to hear it because I have earplugs in. But for whatever reason, like the sound of a snore, that is somehow muffled by them. I don't know why, but I guess maybe because an alarm has more of a shrill rather than like a snore that has more of like a vibration to it. I don't know. Like
a bassier sound probably.
Right.
It's funny that I brought this up for some reason. I've reached the stage in my life, and I don't know why it is, that where it could be the podcast. Let me just throw it out there. I've been editing till like sometimes 6 o'clock in the morning. But if I'm lucky, 4.
Oh my god! Jeez.
Yeah, what will happen is I have an alarm that I've been using and is pretty trustworthy, and it's just stopped working.
Really?
Yeah, I can't get up.
You should get Clocky.
Oh, the vibrating bed one thing, whatever.
It's the one that the law school student invented, and it has wheels on it. But the idea is that you're allowed to snooze it once. If it goes off a second time and you snooze it, it will roll itself off of whatever it's on and go around the room like screaming bloody murder. And you have to basically get out of bed and chase that thing down.
Oh man, that's insane. Well, insane. Some people have invented an app, or I'm sure there are several apps out there that you actually have to solve a puzzle to get it to mute.
Oh God, no, I'm not in the mental state for that.
Oh, what a nightmare. Yeah, but then, in the act of trying to get it to snooze, your brain is already pumping the was it adrenaline to
right.
There's a certain chemical that wakes you up.
I get it in theory. In theory, it makes a lot of sense. However, I do not want to be trying to figure out how to turn off my alarm at 6:30 in the morning when I'm already like tired.
Well, do you snooze?
I do. I set my alarm to, psychologically speaking, give myself some time to kind of mentally prepare myself. So it's that for a certain time, knowing full well that I probably won't get out of bed until 20 minutes later. So it's like, all right, I have to kind of buffer that in. However, I have noticed that, and this could be age, it could be staying up late, working on things. Mm-hmm. If I am getting less than 5 hours of sleep, for example, the alarm could go off and subconsciously I will wake up and turn it off and go back to sleep.
Oh,
and I could oversleep.
That's another thing I've been doing too.
Yes. Subconsciously, like I have no recollection of it going off and me turning it off, but clearly it will happen. So yeah, it's not good. No bueno.
Not at all. Yeah. No. And then you wake up and it's kind of like your body does kind of naturally wake up at certain times.
Right.
I will wake up half an hour before I'm supposed to be in work. I know I'm going to be late. Looks like I'm working from home again, guys.
Oh God.
Hey, then I'm early.
He said, I'm early. How about that, guys?
I'm early, bitches. And then, you still go back to sleep. Oh, no.
Yeah,
Don't do that.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. It's not easy, So now I definitely know that I have to be pretty mindful of that. I can't get away with just snoozing, and then being like, oh yeah, I'm up, I'm okay. No, I can't do that anymore.
No, you're not there. You're done. You're done.
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I
Put
can't
you
do
back
that
in the
anymore.
smoker.
Just put me out to pasture. I'm done. Can't do that.
You old heifer.
A heifer. Yeah.
So speaking of snoring.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah, neither could Morgan.
Neither could Morgan.
So I can make this guy feel bad about himself.
He pulled a Carol. I feel like Carol does things like that.
Yeah. That's a good observation. Yeah.
She does that.
Oh, I don't want to bother Ezekiel. I'll just leave.
I don't want to bother Tobin. I'm going to leave him in the middle of the night. She did that with Tobin. She did.
That's true.
She did.
Oh my God. It's a recurring theme.
It's a recurring theme, the parallels.
I see where Morgan got it from.
Yeah.
Well, Carol, she slept over that one night, but she slipped out in the middle of the night.
Yeah, just call me Angel of the Morning. Yeah.
That was a good tactic. I think I'll borrow it.
I think I'll borrow that tactic.
On my travels.
Gosh.
Yeah, does not want to get involved with anybody, so he slips out.
Yeah.
Yep, and just like Rick says, as soon as he's far enough away from John Dory, just life finds its way back to him, and he gets ambushed trying to scavenge at an abandoned campsite, which is just obviously it wasn't obviously a trap, but it was a trap. There was like a lantern that was on, and that looked really creepy. Like, oh, who's here? Somebody here? Why is the lamp on? I might as well look in this thing anyway.
Karate Man.
Use some sort of Karate Man.
Love the sound of that.
I know, it's just so Texas.
It's Texas, and just and again, comic booky. It just is, Karate Man.
Yeah, when you don't have to worry about political correctness, you can.
No, we're in Texas.
Karate Man.
It's like, can you imagine? It's post-apocalypse Texas. For God's sake.
Post-apocalypse Texas. So that was really bad. I'm not cutting it, though.
If it wasn't PC before, certainly not now.
Oh.
Certainly not now. Against Texas, I'm just saying.
I'm kidding. Well, Texas is a big state. Let's just put it that way.
It's a huge state. It is. Yeah. Not everybody's the same. It's like saying all New Yorkers are rude.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, if you really get to know a New Yorker, you wouldn't say that.
No.
Yeah, we got shit to do. Sorry.
Yep, exactly.
How rude.
No, it is not rude. We're just focused. That's all.
We're just focused. We just got to get to where we need to go.
We just need to get to where we need to go.
We don't have time to help out people who are in trouble. So we do. New
Yorkers are among the friendliest of people.
It's true. We just and you know what I've noticed? It's the consequence of us being real friendly people is that sometimes you'll get that one guy and just will talk. He would just not stop talking to you. And I guess when you're in a crowded subway day in and day out with people all around you, that when you as soon as you get to talk to a stranger, I guess you just can't shut the hell up. So.
Yeah, some people are chatty. Some people are chatty Nancy's. They're like that,
Yeah. But I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. It's a bad thing. Yeah. So Karate Man. Yeah.
Karate Man.
And Morgan does try to get himself out of it, but not before JD, baby, just walks in and says, "Get your hands off my friend." I'm like, oh, God, I was trying to tell them that I have nobody to tell, man.
And he's like, "Yep, no, that's my friend. That's my boy."
I need to move on. But okay.
It's like, you didn't realize we're friends.
Screwed the pooch.
We're friends.
So now we have the Karate Man and the Gunslinger side by side.
Love it. I love that.
Thus caricaturizing your observation of caricaturizing.
Yeah.
So we find out that the guy who's captured him is named Leland.
Very Texas.
I call the group Leland and the Pilferers, like a band.
It does sound like a band. That's really funny, actually.
Yeah, and then they're both in a mess, basically, because this guy Leland, he's no schmuck. Yeah, he's got. I think that's the first time I use schmuck on this show.
Yeah, that is the first time.
If they only knew what it meant.
First time for everything.
Yeah. So, they're no schmucks. They got guys on the rooftops. They got guys all around.
Yeah. No, they were ready.
Shit's tight. And, but lucky for them, I guess, maybe. I don't know. Althea comes in. Seems like a good guy. Yeah. Comes in, drives in with a modified SWAT vehicle. Like
that thing was so damn cool.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It doesn't it look different than like an actual SWAT vehicle?
Yeah. Well, because it wasn't just a SWAT vehicle. It was like, you know what it was? It was a cross between a SWAT vehicle and the Batmobile, the Christopher Nolan Batmobile specifically. That's basically what it was. It was a cross between those two, and that's what made it so cool. That's exactly what it was.
Well, I was thinking more like Star Wars almost, because it looked like one of those small like Star Wars meets Star Trek meets just a SWAT vehicle. It like a pod style body with the diagonal front so that you can get over curbs easily, that sort of thing, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. It looked a little too sci-fi military to me.
Oh, see, for me, it was Christopher Nolan's Batman.
Hey, close enough. The guy is a total sci-fi nerd. So
yeah.
And why not?
So I thought it was super cool.
Yeah.
That thing was awesome.
And she looks super cool.
She does
badass
too.
Haircut, sweeping haircut.
Yeah. No, I thought like she reminded me, there's a character, my husband Eddie plays a particular video game, and there's a character that looks very similar to her. And I immediately thought of that when I saw her. Her look was very much like this character.
Like Silent Hill, maybe? Or like one of those zombie shoot 'em ups?
No, he plays Overwatch.
Oh, okay. Well, so you do know the name of the
Oh, I know the name of the game. I know the game very well.
Oh, I think these people, our listeners I think most of them are gonna know Overwatch.
Probably, actually, yes. He's that is his game, but I don't know the name of the character specifically.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
But when I saw her, I immediately thought of this character in that game because she had that same look, same hair, even the clothes. It was just that same sort of look.
Again, we go back to the video game analogy. She does look like a playable character.
That's what I mean. There was that sort of quality to it. To me, yeah,
this is great. Karate Man, Gunslinger, and the Overwatch person,
the Overwatch
shooting people.
You know what? I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna text you a photo. Like that's what I'll find it.
Do it, and then I'll just include it in the notes.
Okay.
Done.
Don't worry. You'll have it within like 45 minutes. I will find it. I'll find it.
Yeah. So it looks like Althea comes in, and you're not quite sure what's going on.
No.
They obviously know about each other, her and the pilferers.
Right. Yes.
And she starts this dialogue with him. And she apparently does like new people. I like new people. And she wants them, and she's willing to trade for him. And Leland's not looking too hot. He's noticing her. He's like, she's crazy. What is she gonna do next? That kind of thing. Like, and meanwhile, we don't know what's up.
No.
And all of a sudden, and he mentions, "Is your hand by the lever?" And
yes.
And it pans to it. He's like, "Yep." And all at once, she pulls it, and the side panel of the SWAT vehicle opens up, and it's like these automated, like tracking machine guns. These sweeping.
It was amazing.
Automatic cannons. Let's say it looked like G.I. Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be some merchandising involved for kids, probably for adults. Let's
probably.
Be clear.
I would hope so.
So many. I feel like adults collect this stuff more than kids now.
Oh yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, for sure. Definitely. I have a Negan figurine on my desk.
There you go.
It is. It's a lot of it is more for adults than actually kids.
Okay. And here's the thing that's aging me, and I don't know if it's age or if it's a little bit of both, patience and age. And how I'm losing it. I tried to join something like Loot Crate, and Loot Crate, if you've never heard of it, it's one of the first box products. And what a box product is a subscription box.
Oh, okay, subscription services.
Yeah, they box up a bunch of tchotchkes, sometimes tchotchkes. What? I'm so New Yorker.
I knew what that meant. I assume everybody knows what that means.
See, that's the thing. I don't know. But anyway.
That's like when I say not for nothing and people are like, what?
Yeah, not for nothing, but there was a lot of loot in this box. So it's usually like just things, you know? These like a coin from the video game or a comic book, or most of the times there's a T-shirt.
Okay.
And the boxes revolve around a theme. So I collected it for like 5 or 6 months, maybe.
Okay. All right.
And I started realizing something. It's just a lot of shit.
Well, you have to be selective with stuff. I don't have a ton of figurines or anything like that, but I will say that when it comes to home, I definitely try to minimize that. So when I'm at home, like my work desk at home has one figurine, which is a Negan figurine, and that is it. That's all I have.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it. Now, when I'm at work,
like your spirit animal. I'm sorry.
It's my spirit animal right there. But when I'm at work, I have not a lot, but I feel like at work, it's maybe like it's more motivational to have these things around. So at work, I've got candles, I've got little zombie figurines, I got pencils that have sayings from the movie Clueless on them. I mean, it's a potpourri of awesome stuff at work. Like it really is. But it's conversation starters, and it adds a little something to an
flair
otherwise
for your office. Yeah,
exactly. So because I feel like in a sterile office environment, it's okay, because otherwise it's just a sterile office environment. But at home, I don't necessarily want to clutter my house with all this sort of stuff.
Yeah. You already have to deal with your kids' toys.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, why would I want to deal with my own?
Right. Exactly. Correct.
Yeah. But that's what happened to me, because you don't really have a choice of what comes in. It's just all a surprise.
Right.
It ended up being, I would get things that I really didn't really care for. More things than I cared about. Yeah. If it was like a t-shirt of the month club, I still wouldn't do it, because at a certain point, my wife...
I don't need any more you don't need any more t-shirts. Yeah. She probably would flip out. Like, why?
I had like 2 full drawers full of just t-shirts.
2 full drawers? That's a lot.
Big ass IKEA drawers. So
that's a lot.
Yeah. Speed up to the future, I actually have now only 1 drawer. I don't know how I did it.
That's significant.
I really don't know how. I only took out maybe 1 stack, but I made it happen for some reason.
But you know what? Sometimes you actually, if you take a moment and you go through all that stuff, you start to realize that, wait a second, I haven't worn this since like 1998. So really, like, is there any reason why I really should keep holding on to this? I did that one day and I cleaned house. I have a pile of clothing in my bedroom floor that I need to bring over to Salvation Army that I just basically cleared out. I was like, I'm not going to use any of this. And sometimes it also gives you this misconception that you have more than you actually do. Yeah, sometimes you just have a lot of stuff, but I mean, do you use any of that stuff?
That's true. And actually midway into our Squawking Dead extravaganza, I actually moved during the break.
Right. Yes.
Right after episode 8.
Yes, you did.
I've moved before. I think we all have. But
we all have.
This move was just painful. I just can't recall a more painful time moving, because
really,
in the course of 7.5 years, I collected so much stupid stuff, furniture this is going to kind of give you insight into who I am. I would find furniture on the street sometimes.
Oh, no, I dumpster dive all the time. Like, let's be clear. Like, there's nothing wrong with dumpster diving. This happens here where we live now in sunny Miami, Florida, where, there's a certain day in our area where they pick up bulk trash, furniture or anything that's considerable that doesn't fit in a trash can. There's a certain day out of the month that they pick that stuff up. So you leave it on the curb for them to pick it up. So on the eve of when they're picking it up, that is the time that me and my beloved husband like to do a little drive-through.
That is crazy. I love you guys.
And kind of see what people put out.
Take me with you.
The best stuff. No, because it's true. I mean, like, no shame in that whatsoever. I've done that before, where I've gotten pieces of furniture. Actually, we found a piece of furniture like that, like an old antique chair that we have in our garage right now. My goal is to reupholster it, because I've seen amazing things. As long as the bones are fine, and you reupholster it. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And once it's in that state, it's worth a lot of money when you think about it.
It can be, sure.
It can be. I've seen people charge hundreds of dollars sometimes for like these chairs that are, essentially kind of like an antique. It's just been given some life again.
It's got the Etsy effect, basically. It's you take found things and you glam it up. You glitz it up. Glitz is better because it's something that you would actually want.
Oh,
glam, not necessarily. Glam is like...
Not necessarily glam, yeah.
Glam is like Delia's. Like oh my God, does Delia's exist? Did I just age myself again?
No, you know what? That's a very good question. I know, right? Oh God, yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm a guy and I know Delia's for some reason.
No, it was very popular back in the day when we were in college. They used to send the catalogs around. I knew a lot of girls. I never got anything from Delia, but I knew girls who got the catalogs in the mail and they ordered things. So
right.
that's
For
what
those
I say.
who don't know, Delia's is like I wouldn't say women's accessory store.
I would say it was like a juniors kind of mail order catalog of clothes. It was that time frame of late 90s, early 2000s. Lots of baby doll dresses.
Yeah.
When I think Courtney Love during the 90s, it was like that kind of look, but polished.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, exactly. Anyway, getting back to the merchandising SWAT vehicle, by the way.
Very cool.
Toys for adults.
Yeah.
You find out that she does have this automatic machine gun system. She has this hold over this gang. She's probably had it over them for a while. She doesn't really abuse it. She doesn't try to force them to give her what she wants. She just uses it as a kind of leverage. Hey, I just using this so we can have a fair deal. And she's actually borderline begging these guys to remit these two gentlemen, the Karate Man and the Gunslinger, over to her because she wants to. Because we find out later on she wants to interview them.
Yeah, she was a journalist.
Yeah, like what do you want? What do you want from us? And and basically when it goes down, she does it. They hand him over, and I guess they get their cup of noodles with kimchi on top. I guess Korean cup of noodles,
Nice.
and smokes. It's more than a fair deal. I say
More than a fair deal.
because I'm kind of hungry for that right now.
That sounds very good.
Yeah, and the smokes wouldn't hurt after the cup of noodles.
There you go.
You do find out that Althea, or Al, is a journalist. Mm-hmm. And again, Morgan kind of points this out pretty quickly. He's like, what is this? Why?
Right.
Journalists in the aftermath of the apocalypse? Really?
Yeah.
It's kind of a waste of time. But then you start to realize that both John Dory and Althea, they're both kind of these odd, displaced, weird characters in the apocalypse that have somehow made it.
Somehow survived. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like their own mini Alexandria. It's like, how did these people survive? How did these guys make it this long?
Yeah.
And so,
resourcefulness.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you know how Althea did it, but
yeah,
JD, I guess. And again, I think it's a movie theater. The popcorn references, and at the end, I guess the popcorn socks he gives to Morgan.
Yeah,
not worth having to mention again, but yeah, it's all these movie theater themes and the candy. When she's far enough away, she does do the interviews. She tackles John Dory first because obviously he's pretty easy. He likes to talk.
Yeah. He has no problem with that.
No. Before they even actually get to the interview,
yes,
they drive by this set of buildings and they make a remark about the flag on top of the buildings, the 51 number.
Ah, yes, the flag. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
51.
Yeah, we find out that, later on that it feels like there's a bunch of buildings in this world in Fear the Walking Dead that they're just filled with walkers and have like a random number on them. Yeah. So, and this is going to come up because you do see this again in the sneak peeks. There's another number on another building.
Right.
And that number is like 457. So is it the number of walkers? It seems like a video game in a way. Oh, there's 50. This is difficulty 51. There's 51 walkers in here to deal with.
I know, right?
So I'm wondering, there's something odd about this, and who's doing this, and who's behind this, or is it the military? And because you can create theories and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just something to keep note of because we do come back to these buildings, and as Althea is interviewing JD, he does go into the story which I actually went through earlier. Morgan just does not see the point. There are no news stations, and he tries to get out of it too. Actually, to the point where he's giving her foods like, please just let me go. I need to go. Before they can really do anything about that, Leland and the Pilferers, they're on the case again. Yeah, and I don't get it too. Like, what is up with this dude?
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, why don't you just leave well enough alone?
Right. I don't know what their deal is that they have to keep pushing.
Yeah, but it becomes increasingly clear the kind of people these guys are. Something that I think Althea mentions, or some people have mentioned, is that this region of Texas, wherever they are, it seems to be that there's not a lot of people here. It may just be Althea and these guys. Althea's roving around in this truck that probably takes a lot of gas, by the way, so I don't know how she's dealing with that.
Yeah, for sure. That is definitely a gas guzzler right there.
Yeah. And so these guys are getting pretty hungry, it seems. They're running out of stocks. I can easily see a situation where these guys are just really trying to not only get by, but they need some sort of advantage.
Right.
And maybe they want to make it further out out, but they can't. Maybe there's something in this world, in this region of the world, like a boundary of some kind that makes it dangerous to go beyond this place.
Right.
So that's the reason why you would even ask the question, like, okay, why don't they just leave well enough alone? She's trading people for things you actually not only want, but need. So there may be a situation in the surrounding area where they can't get out of this area unless they just go east or something.
Right.
I don't know. So, yep, we get into this whole scene where these guys have them surrounded again.
Yeah.
They want to take Morgan's stick, and all of a sudden, JD goes into full effect, and they start going to like this little gunfight.
Yeah.
So what we find out during the fight is that there's a point at which Morgan gets shot trying to get somebody on the rooftops of these buildings, the one with the 51 on it. And as he's coming up to the guy takes the flag to try to fight Morgan with his stick. And I thought this was the funniest thing in the world. I'm like, they're not really going to get into like this typical movie stick fight. And what was so great about it is that it was over even before it started.
Yeah.
The guy takes the 51 flag off the top of the building, and he starts using it as a stick, but Morgan just roundly hands his ass to him.
Yeah.
and
time wasted.
Right, and he falls off the building, basically. And at that point, sometime during the fight, John actually opens one of the doors, and Walker starts spilling out. So this guy's dangling over the side of these small buildings. These are very small ranch-style buildings. And he's dangling, and Morgan actually does save him, which is contrary to what he had been doing.
Yes.
Typically. And he's going back to this, as long as they're alive, I will save them. You know?
Right,
and the point at the end goes to the dead people.
Yes.
So he lifts the guy up, brings him to the rooftop, but as soon as
he helps him,
the guy just decks him again, and it's kind of like, what is going on here? Why would you do that? The guy saved your life, basically. You would have been Walker meat.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And then as soon as that happens, crash into the building.
Yeah.
And full of walkers. And then there's the coolest scene I think I've ever seen on The Walking Dead, or these Walking Dead shows. He finds this grenade. I don't know if it was on Morgan or if it was on this guy or something, but he finds a grenade. As the other guy is being eaten up by walkers, he just shoves this grenade in another walker, pushes it on the pile of bodies that are trying to eat this guy's body, runs into the bathroom, jumps into a bathtub, and he makes this sound. It's like, ah. He's like, he knows what's coming.
He knows what's coming.
And then kablooey, like the building, just the shockwave in the building, and it's just such a mess. And he's like, he comes out kind of like a cartoon character. He's all like charred, and he's blowing smoke out of his mouth.
Oh, God.
He's like, we gotta go.
Yeah. That was pretty crazy.
Oh, yeah. Leland almost gets the drop on Althea, too.
Yeah, he does, almost.
Basically, Althea throws the keys into this like little tire pot holder of some kind, and the snake kind of jumps out and gets Leland, and he still almost gets away, but he just can't seem to start the thing or whatever, and so he gets thrown out, and the walkers start tearing him apart. But the problem is there's so many walkers, and then you kind of finally get to see Althea pull the lever of this goddamn machine gun thing.
Yes.
And it just, John and Morgan just take a dive behind the car, and it just mows all this horde of walkers down.
Yeah.
Cuts them all down in like a matter of seconds.
Yeah, that thing was awesome.
Yeah, you can see why these guys had been avoiding trying to basically fuck with her.
Yeah.
So
pretty much.
Yeah. So, which again goes back to the whole cartoony character kind of thing. Like she just pulled a Looney Tunes lever, and a bunch of guns just shot all these things down.
Yeah.
It's just so out of place.
Yeah. But I appreciate it because it's just so weird.
Yeah, and it's probably like you said. Again, this is like the preamble. This is the cartoony part of the show. As we move on, we'll start to get into the meat of these characters and start to reveal certain depressing truths that keep us watching in agony.
Yep, to warm our cold, cynical hearts.
Yeah, or to cold our warm, hopeful hearts.
Yeah.
The Stanley Milgram test continues.
Oh.
Thanks, Bobby Kirkman.
Thanks.
So we get past the situation. Morgan's leg is still injured.
Yes.
Obviously. And Althea goes for another round with this guy, try to interview him. Because at that point, look, I saved your life, blah, blah, blah. So Morgan feels like, okay, I owe her. her,
Yeah.
you know? So he might as well start asking questions, and he does pretty well and all the way until she asks him a very personal question. He explains how he comes from 2 settlements, Atlanta and Virginia, explains his journey, and even has time to mention the kingdom and Shiva,
Yeah.
a tiger.
How do you forget Shiva? You can't.
Yeah, I'm glad they kind of brought that up again, because it does sound bananas.
Yeah.
Our eyeballs kind of popped out of our sockets when we first saw this thing.
Yeah.
What is this? Who is this king? Why does he have a tiger? What the what?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, I can see that. I can see how in disbelief she is. And he goes on. She basically asks him, why did you go? These people love you, and you're surrounded by people you care about. And he goes, I already left before I left. I was already gone.
Yeah.
But then she wants to try to ask him more questions, and he tries to flip the script. He tries to change the subject.
Yeah.
What about you? What's your deal? And she won't answer the questions. Like, I'm the one asking the questions.
I'm asking the questions.
Yeah, and basically he just goes, well, it's been fun. It's been real. Not for nothing.
Not for nothing, but I gotta go.
It's time. I gotta catch a train. So he waddles away. In his typical stubborn Morgan fashion.
Yeah.
She basically says, tell me one real thing. I don't believe this tiger nonsense, but tell me one real thing about your thing. And then he says, it's just the most heartbreaking thing to hear. It's like, he says, I lose people and then I lose myself.
Yeah. But it's that at the core, that is what it is.
Yeah. You know what it is. This is the part where we were talking about the lonely guy's car, and and he has to follow him, and he's struggling because at that point he's trying to catch up to the guy as he's just walking away, and we don't know what's going on. He's trying to follow him. And 2 walkers from the side of the road are ambling towards him, but he can't seem to move fast enough. He's not a very tall guy either. So he has like little waddly legs like me.
Oh my God.
But obviously he's a karate man, so he's already better.
Karate man.
So he stumbles down, and had it not been for John Dory following him the entire time with Althea, he would have been a goner, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
So much for I don't die.
Yeah, right. That all went out the window.
Yeah, maybe when you're in clear mode, but now you're with us down here in the shit.
Yeah, exactly. So, nope, doesn't work like that.
Yeah. So eventually he's like, I just got to know. I need to find out if this guy is okay. And John's like, okay, hold your horses.
Yeah.
And he's like, give me your backpack. And something I like about that scene is that instead of trying to convince Morgan, dude, you're not in the shape to really go after this guy. And not only that, he could have found out for himself what this lonely guy was, or if he was okay. He enables Morgan to do it.
Yeah.
Something very noteworthy. He takes the backpack, he does like a fireman carry, and they walk together, and they find out that the lonely guy, he turned.
Yeah.
And, he takes him out. And not only does he do that, I found this very touching. He took him out, and then Morgan decides to bury him.
That is very touching.
Yeah, it's not something that you would typically think of doing for a complete stranger.
No, not at all.
What do you think is going on in his mind what's going on with him? Why does he go out of his way for this stranger? What does it mean to him?
It's not for him, even though he didn't want his care.
Right.
But he did. Morgan's not devoid of feelings and wanting to care for people. He wants to. It's just that every time he does, he loses them, and then he loses himself.
Right. But think about it, though. He's ended other walkers, and he didn't bury all those other Building 51 walkers.
No.
So what makes this guy special?
If you
why?
cared for him, I feel like you would bury him. That's part of the caring for him, I would think.
Yeah, I guess so. But I think there's something more to that. I guess I asked a rhetorical question.
What do you think, Dave?
What do you think? No, here's what I think. No, forget it, Carol.
No, this is what I'm saying here.
No, I have an inkling, but it's more of, I think he identifies with him in a way. It's more of like...
Sure. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to have to get to this...
Get to this point, yeah.
Right? Like, maybe there is a level lower than where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't found the bottom yet, and maybe I don't want to.
Yeah. You don't want to end up like this guy.
Yeah. Isn't it funny? With the last couple episodes, when we've been talking about Rick and Morgan and those scenes together, the one thing that we notice is that Morgan is like the ghost of Christmas future for Rick.
Yes.
Rick is noticing, oh, yeah, we did some bad things.
Yeah.
And I think I need to stop. I need to get off this crazy train. And
get off the crazy train, man.
so when Morgan sees this guy, and obviously you see the guy, he can't seem to not want to help people. That's fine. As much as he wants to stay away from them, but when he sees him right in front of his face, he just can't help it. But
yeah,
this particular guy wants to be left alone, and he agrees with him, like, we're all alone.
Right.
But at the same time, to be in such a state that, as you're alone, as you're sick, as you're not well, to just not have anybody.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think that's the thing that Morgan has. It's not that he's taken it for granted, but at the beginning of the episode, he's by himself in the heaps.
Yeah.
And he is, even though he's not near the people he loves, they're nearby.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though he feels like he can't be around them, maybe for what he did to Henry in the season finale, afraid of what he might do to people he loves when he's around. Having lost himself.
Right.
Yeah, he still needs people. I think this establishes the path that Morgan has to go on. I think even if he doesn't realize it at the moment that he's burying this guy, he's burying it for a reason that he may not even be aware of. Is that
he's burying himself?
Yeah,
of that version of himself.
Yeah, or that possible future version, that darker, deeper.
What could be?
Yeah, that possible lower level.
Yeah. Sure.
Why end up like this guy? Why end up with nobody?
No.
And so I think it's kind of the ultimate kindness. And actually, it's funny it's being brought up because Jews say that the ultimate good deed that you can do is to just basically bury somebody, to speak nicely of people who've passed. And so Morgan does the ultimate kindness, because you don't get anything in return.
No, exactly. That's true.
When you take care of the dead, they're dead. There's just nothing there.
Right.
So I think it's very touching.
It is. I think so. I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Yeah.
So we're at that point near the end of the episode. And they're driving off after doing this good thing. It seems like JD is sticking with Althea because his car wouldn't start.
Yeah.
Sure.
Valid reason.
Sure. Valid
reason.
And it looks like Morgan finally takes JD's candy. He doesn't eat it, but he takes it at the very least.
He takes it. Yeah, he takes it. It's baby steps.
Yeah. But John basically says something that I thought was pretty interesting. And it just gives you a little bit more about the character. And despite his outlandish look and his peculiar behavior and words.
Yes.
He does say something about finding Laura. Finding Dory.
That's awesome.
Yeah. In respect to this thing, he's really determined to find her. And not only that, he says he will find her. And he says this in the interview that he had with Althea. Now, he's in the car with Morgan, having just buried the lonely guy. And he just openly admits, it's not like I don't think that I'll never find her. I do know that. I'm under no illusions that it's possible that we won't find her. But I can't think about that. That's not the point.
That's not the point, yeah.
And Althea is the same way. I know there are no news stations, but this is just something that I do. Yeah. To keep my head.
Absolutely. I mean, look, you have to do what you have to do in order to maintain your sanity.
Yeah.
And under these sort of circumstances.
Yeah. He's like, hey, Morgan.
Doom and gloom. Can't be all doom and gloom all the time.
Yeah, it can't always be about clearing people, Morgan.
It's always be about clearing people, yeah.
So what was this episode called? What's your story? It should be episode 1, Get a Hobby.
Get a hobby.
So
get a life.
Get a life, Morgan.
God.
Talk about the 90s. Get a life.
Get a life.
Like, duh.
Yeah.
Psh.
That is so funny. But it's true.
Pie in the sky goals, but at the same time, yeah, it just anchors them to this world.
Yes.
So strange as they are, they're probably on the right path. They have the right idea. So one more thing, we're finally reaching the end of the episode after that, and
yes,
we're noticing that there's a woman on the road, and they slowly creep up cautiously to assess the situation, because as they'd mentioned earlier on, these parts, there's not a lot of people around here. It's Leland and her, and that was basically it for miles. And seeing this woman, they're very cautious. They're like, what is going on? She's hurt, hurt, but there's nobody really around here to hurt her. So, okay, let's approach with caution. And as they near her, we find out that it's Alicia from the show. Finally, we see a series regular. We're concerned. She's hurt. Like, oh, what happened? How much time has passed? Like, obviously, there's a huge gap in time from when Fear the Walking Dead ended off last season. You know, obviously, the entire series starts way before The Walking Dead. So we're in the present. Something must have happened between then and now, all this amount of time. So as they're trying to figure out what happened, where's she hurt? Morgan's bringing the first aid kit, so he's kind of back by the SWAT vehicle. And out come Strand and Nick, Alicia's brother, and Luciana, which was Nick's girlfriend, who had kind of disappeared from the show completely. And I'm not talking about at the end. I'm talking about several episodes before the end of last season. She leaves Nick at some point because basically they were supposed to run off together.
Yes.
Nick and Luciana. And at some point she leaves him because, he wants to stay with his family. But, I thought I was your family.
Right.
So she leaves, and it was like that for like half the season, last season or something. Something to that effect. So to see Luciana now, you're kind of like thinking, oh, wow, a lot of time must have passed between then and now for her to come back into the picture again. And it is Nick, her, and Strand, and Alicia. And so our series regulars basically holds our favorite people hostage. So, our gang of misfits, almost like literally.
Yeah.
And now you don't even know how to root for. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
So you're left with a lot of burning questions.
Lots of questions.
And there's just so little to go on, you don't even know where to start.
No.
I could not even make a prediction. Obviously, things have happened to them. The Walking Dead season 7 and 8 kind of things. People.
Yeah. Where's Madison?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people were saying. Where is Madison?
Yeah.
So
yeah, lots of questions.
There's such a huge gap. You really couldn't be able to guess.
No, you couldn't guess.
And I think that's intentional because...
Yeah, I mean, it gives them a lot of creative liberty, basically.
Yeah. To
say that this and this and this happened, unbeknownst to us. There doesn't have to be any sort of trajectory for that. Time has passed that pretty much everything is kind of plausible.
Right. A tremendous amount of time. It's got to be at least a year, I have to say. I don't know if anybody's done any of the chronology between The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead, but I would have to say that there have to be like at least several months between...
Yeah.
Obviously, Fear the Walking Dead, chronologically speaking, would be first. And I would say, like, by the time Rick wakes up, it's got to be a couple months later, at least.
Right.
At least, if not several. So... And then to have the seasons go so far, to have that original, chronologically speaking, series catch up to today, it's got to be at least a year or more. A gap between the end of Fear the Walking Dead Season 3 and Season 4, Episode 1. And so the one thing that Scott Gimple says, I think, this is going to be a time-jumping season, and they're going to have to.
Yeah.
And we will get to find out what happens, or what has happened to our series regulars. But before we go... We got some sneak peeks for you. It's seeming like at some point our regulars are at a settlement, and you do see Madison, I think. Or do you actually?
Oh, I need to take a look at that again.
Yeah. All I know is that Luciana is there, and she's radioing a bunch of people, including Nick. So some other people are there, some randos, are pushing a car or a truck. And you see earlier on in another sneak peek that they're in the truck trying to shield themselves from walkers on the outside. So I guess at some point they get out, but eventually they run out of gas or something. So they're pushing this truck back to their settlement, and all of a sudden a bunch of tour buses and all that start pulling up behind them, and Luciana's just like, go, don't just leave it. And so they're just basically trying to hide out from whoever's chasing now. Are these the people that made our series regulars crazy or
whatnot? Who they are right now.
Are they holding something over them? Where's Madison? Who's Deanna?
Who's Deanna? God, I love that.
There is another scene, though. At some point, I guess we jump back to the present. Alicia is basically asking Althea, and it looks like they still have our band of misfits, which I'll call them, captive. And she asks Althea, like, what is the deal with the flags? So it looks like they don't know what it's about either. So that's interesting, too. Like, you'd think they've been out here a long enough time to know, but I guess they don't. So I guess they weren't always in this region of Texas, or maybe they just arrived.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
But
lots of questions.
and we do see that building with 457. So, and I guess what we do know is that we will see the Jenna Elfman character.
Yes.
Do you remember what her name is on the show?
I don't.
Me neither, but I know that she's
featured.
Got some star power on this show.
Yeah, right? Seriously.
Yeah. What is it about comedians, too? Like, when they make it on the show, is she going to be like the Josh McDermott character? You know what I mean?
I don't think so. I don't get that impression.
No, it seems like she's been through some horrors, apparently, to her character bio.
Yeah. Good for her.
So not a Eugene. Okay.
Not a Eugene, no. I'm going to say no to that.
Yeah, 9.
9.
And then you do get a glimpse of what seem to be oily walkers. Like, obviously they're in Texas.
Right? Well, that's true. Yeah, good point.
Yeah, so another situation.
Oil spill walkers. Okay. Light them on fire. Burn them up.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's great. But maybe the crude oil is like a commodity, so it's kind of like, oh, it's like burning money in the apocalypse. Maybe that's what they try to avoid that. Like if you just kill the walkers, you can get the oil for your car or something. You can refine it.
Oh yeah, refine it.
Yeah, make some gasoline or something. I don't know how like chemicals work. Have you noticed that?
No.
So, barring any observations, I don't know what else we can say about that. But I do like this episode. I enjoyed.
It's a good start.
Yeah, it's nice to see an episode that's so apart from the series, and then now you have to reconcile that episode with the rest of the series, basically.
Yeah.
So.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, you're right. Also, the series regulars characters, aside from maybe Strand as the con man, the rest of them do not have as much of a caricature kind of character.
No, that was their thing, that they're like real people, which is
Addict.
fine.
You know, Addict is not really
that's
not a superpower.
Not a superpower. I mean, it's kind of, can you imagine? Oh my God.
Well, it kind of was. Okay, maybe I should take that back because I don't even think it's Addict. Maybe the Addict is kind of a byproduct. We're talking about Nick right now.
Yes.
So Nick Clark, the brother of Alicia, the son of Madison. So I think his thing is flirting with danger. So he does these drugs. He likes to feel good. He's in the moment. But you find out later on in the series, the way he's able to replace the drugs is to just put himself in situations that are dangerous. To
get that same rush.
Right. I don't know if you read the bios and stuff, but he does walk around with walkers.
Yes.
He puts the blood on him. He figured that shit out really quick.
Yeah. He figured it out before many of our characters on Walking Dead figured that out.
They were putting guts on them. I was like, dude, stop wasting time. Just put their blood on you.
And you're good.
And he taught others to do it too, including Luciana. I was like, whoa, this guy's hardcore.
Yeah.
And again, you can't put a label on that kind of person, like Daredevil. I don't know. Risk taker. He is kind of like Jesus, though, too, on The Walking Dead. He's not a fighter.
Right.
But it's something that I was saying in the other episode is that he'll put himself in situations that he doesn't really have a way of getting out. He doesn't know he's going to get out of it. But I guess Jesus trusts himself enough and has enough training to be able to get out of close combat situations.
Yeah.
I don't know. Daredevils. All of them. Ninja Daredevils.
Yeah. There you have it.
I think we've got enough for this episode, and there was only so much to say about it, other than the fact that it's just a very enjoyable episode, and if you have not watched it, I'm assuming you watched it, I would recommend just absorbing the heck out of it, because just take a mental inventory, because it feels like you need to kind of absorb this moment right now, because it's going to get crazy and time jumping from here on in.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. With that, everybody, we'll see you tomorrow night. It was the best that we could do this week.
Yeah,
because
life's hard.
Yeah, life's hard. Play rough. Wait, no, don't do that. That's a bad thing.
Yeah.
In any case, we'll be back with you on episode 2, season 4 of Fear the Walking Dead. Enjoy it.
See you next time.